Call this meeting to order. Farmington Town Building Board, we stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, it's Kelly Cochran and Tom Wood. It's the staff. All right, Rob?
Yeah.
You're still very quiet.
Am I?
Yep.
Yes, get up a little closer. There you go.
Okay. As soon as I hear myself, I get.
There you go.
So, building department, Dan Jordan. Code enforcement officer, John Wardenborn. The town attorney, Jeff Graff. Director of development, Ron Brand. Ever so MVP of everything, Sarah Mitchell, clerk of the boards.
That's right.
All right. I'd like to review the emergency exits. We have your right, my left, and exit there. And you want to, The meeting will be conducted according to the rules of procedure of the zoning board of appeals adopted on February 27th, 2023. And the board has seen the minutes from the previous meeting. Motion to accept them.
Motion to accept the meeting minutes.
Second. I'll second. No legal notices published for tonight's meeting.
You need to, you had a motion and a second, you didn't vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. All in favor? Aye. There is no continued public hearing for tonight's meeting. We have the deliberations and decision. Has the applicant seen the draft resolution and understand? Yes. Are you in agreement with it? Okay. For the record, how long do you need to table for further deliberation?
I'm sorry, sir. Who are you?
I'm representing this power. Sorry, I'm Richard Franco from David's Bank. Representing.
You're fine. Continue right.
Right
where
above
are.
you.
Yeah,
it'll catch you right there.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm from Davidson's Bank. I represent Mr. Fowler in regards to his application for an area variance. Obviously, we're here to answer any questions or concerns the board might have with the application and fill in any gaps that may be missing, but we believe it's pretty straightforward.
So with that said, how long did you? So how many days do you want? You need for this to go to the planning board?
We can have that submitted.
Days from now.
Yes.
Okay, Dan.
Yeah, so with submittals and everything, I would recommend to this board to allow us 60 days just so that they can get the submittal to the planning board. The planning board will have time to get it on their agenda and make a decision to either refer back to you guys or what was needed at that point.
For the record, 60 days.
Sure. fine with us.
Okay.
That's today.
Yeah, that would be 60 days from today.
Okay.
So. Given the fact that I don't have a calendar here in front of me, 60 days from today may necessitate you to have an extension, because 60 days from today may meet you normally fourth Monday of the month schedule.
July 14th.
Okay, so that would be July
July
14th.
14th, Friday, July 14th. is
And the
60 days.
next, the July meeting date should be. So you're looking at 70 days.
I was gonna say, maybe we'll do a 70-day then,
Mhm.
would be more appropriate.
That way you're not
Right, we're not messing with these.
caught in the middle of something. And just so everybody knows, the reason we're meeting tonight is because we were asked by the town board to move it up so that they could meet next Monday night, given that Tuesday is grievance day and that is going to fill this place up. So not going to be available for a town board meeting. Okay, so with that, Mr. Chairman, may I ask, you've got 70 days in that blank. Okay. Okay, with that 70 days,
The second to last resolved paragraph can be removed from the draft resolution that says absent an agreement, what the board would do since we have the applicant's agreement to the extension. You can delete that.
Okay, so let's pull that from resolution.
Okay, motion to waive the reading of the complete, wait, no, not yet.
before you do that, I would recommend you ask if anybody in the room has any concerns with waiving that. Because if there is somebody here that doesn't know it exists, then you are obligated to read it into the record.
So people in the audience and online, you had access to this from the town website. And everyone has seen it and your objection is also reading this.
No.
Okay, then read it.
You read that section?
Yeah, somebody should make a motion by putting this into, whoever's making the motion can read that.
But do we have to make a motion to remove that second from the last? To make it official and then read it minus it?
Since you're reading it, I would suggest whoever's going to make the motion say, I move the following resolution, and then read it without that paragraph, and then it's entered in the form that you just made the motion on. Make the motion.
We need to waive the seeker for this.
You've already done it.
Right, okay. Okay, so I will motion to accept the resolution and to read it.
Minus.
Minus the last section,
Second to last.
second to last paragraph. And with the addition of the 70 days.
I'll second.
So now you're going to read the board's findings.
Yes.
Okay. That's
And the resolutions. The people in the audience are looking to,
the board decision. Okay, so you start, whereas.
Whereas the zoning board of appeals referred herein after referred to as board, after reviewing this application and the record thereof, finds that the requested area variance does not involve an appeal of an interpretation. Decision or determination provided by the town code officer that would enable an applicant application for an area variance to be made to the board pursuant to section 267-B, Article 16, the New York State Town Law and or Chapter 165, Article 8, Administration and Enforcement. Section 97F, Town Code, Town of Farmington. And whereas the board further finds that there is no pending application before the town of Farmington Planning Board involving preliminary re-subdivision plat approval for a third lot to be re-subdivided from existing lots R-5A and R-5B. That would enable the application for an area variance to be made to the board pursuant to sections 277, Article 16 of the New York State Town Law. And whereas the board has determined that there currently is not a proposed site plan for either lots R-5A and R-5B that contains one or more features which do not comply with the zoning regulations that would enable an application for an area variance to be made to the board pursuant to section 274A of Article 16 of the New York State Town Law. Okay, so the board's decisions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board does hereby determine, based upon the above findings, that this application is not properly before the board, and therefore the board is not empowered to make a decision on the application at this time. Be it further resolved that the board does hereby accept the applicant's request made tonight and enter into the public record on this application to continue the board's deliberations and decisions and to waive the 62-day provisions containing in section 267A of the New York State Town Law and agrees to table further deliberations for up to 70 days pending town planning board's receipt and acceptance of a proposed preliminary re-subdivision plat and primary site plan for proposed lots R-5A, R-5B, and R-5C of the following family trust property, showing the exact same configuration, layout, and dimension that were included in this application to the board. Be it further resolved that the board does hereby require the applicant at set time described above herein to agree to a new public hearing and to be held by this board, public notice thereof provided for. Be it finally resolved, the board directs this resolution to be placed in the public file upon this action, and that a copy hereof be provided to the applicant, the applicant's attorney, and the applicant's engineer. Okay.
And that was moved by Jody and seconded by Tom.
Roll call vote.
Conley,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Jody,
Aye.
Aye.
Good on that one. Let's go to the rest of the agenda.
Other board matters.
Just before we move on, Chairman, in that resolution, it said to set the public hearing. Are we setting that for July 24th for their next meeting? Well, when this comes back in 70 days, would that be a public hearing? I just want to make sure that we post it and advertise that correctly.
Well, let's just wait a minute now. We're assuming that we have to have something to create a legal notice based on. And since we haven't seen anything in the form of a application to the planning board that would specify the design that shows that 30-foot lot width there, the lot 5C. I think we ought to hold on that till we know what we've got. And then we can schedule the public hearing. Okay, all this resolution says is when we are at that point, then we can schedule that, re-advertise that public hearing for this board to consider acting on. I'd rather do that than say we're going to have a public hearing on July 29th and find that we get this July 15th or whatever, and we don't have it yet. You agree?
Well, I was with how the resolution's laid out, I didn't know if they met the conditions above that we could just schedule that public hearing, or does the board have to have another meeting to schedule the public hearing? I didn't know if this resolution would take place of the board having another meeting. That's my question. Is if everything was submitted through the planning board and it was ready to come back on that July meeting, could we advertise it as a public hearing, or do we need the board to meet to set a public hearing?
Well, if the board tonight doesn't continue to the July 29th, this deliberation, then they would have to have a new public hearing. They're going to have a new public hearing anyway, because the resolution calls for that.
And on that day, they could agree to a further extension to August.
Well, yeah, I agree. I didn't know if we needed an extra step in here or.
I think that can be addressed at whichever meeting. I mean, they had said that it might, they might have it filed in 15 or 30
Right.
days or whatever. So, you know, this board might actually have something in their June meeting, for instance. And then they could schedule in the June meeting, the public hearing for the July meeting and actually still meet the 70-day parameters. That's possible too.
Yeah, the point is that a new public hearing would be advertised only if it wasn't continued to a specific date.
Okay, thank you.
I think we want to.
That's a good point, though.
I just
Yeah.
trying to get clarification on that.
Did we get it? Okay.
70 days,
From tonight.
just for them to get it, we don't have to have it resolved. We just have to have their stuff done in 70 days.
The 70 days is how much time they have for the planning board to receive and accept the
Just want to clarify.
the re-subdivision plat.
I just want everybody to understand that if it isn't, if we're continuing this to July 29th, right? 24th, okay. So there won't be another legal notice advertising that July 24th continuation. It'll be an agenda item.
There's a public hearing.
Yeah, unless they get everything in June and you do schedule the public hearing for July, then you'd have to have a legal notice for that public hearing if everything moves that quickly. But otherwise, you'd probably be scheduling in July.
Next. But if the planning board doesn't approve this.
Well, it's not approval, it's just for them to submit the application. So as with any application that's before two boards, one of you will approve it before the other.
Okay.
And if you guys or take action on it and say your action is approval, you would want to attach a condition that your approval is subject to the planning board's approval, such that if they denied it, then your approval would go away as well. And vice versa, if they approved it first, they would condition it against your approval.
The planning board is going to accept it, review it, and say they can't move it because it needs a variance.
Okay.
That's what triggers the variance. That's what we're trying to get to.
What will be presented in front of them is the original, not the original, the second map that doesn't show the structure, it's just the 2 lots, 30 foot, right?
We've put it in here showing the exact same configuration, layout, and dimensions included in this application, which is the 30-foot.
The planning board, in order to accept a preliminary subdivision, will require additional information than just lot lines. Or that guy won't even schedule.
That's, I want to make sure we're clear. Yeah.
Other board matters. So we have public comments open for discussion. This is, we can talk about anything we can't necessarily have an open to resolution. As far as like. Okay, so you can.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Or.
If you turn them on, they should be able to hear them.
You should be able to talk.
Okay. So can someone explain to the,
You have to say who you are.
oh, sorry, Pete LeBlanc,
Thank you.
Pheasants Crossing.
Thank you.
Can someone explain to us in layman's terms what you've all been discussing? Because I'm lost. I don't know if anyone else is.
Her puzzle
I
face.
feel like.
I'll try my best. It's been discovered that, well, New York State law requires a variance to be presented to a zoning board of appeals, either from an appeal from an order determination of the code enforcement officer, or by an application to the planning board for subdivision or site plan that the planning board has slid over to the zoning board. Their application for an area variance was neither an appeal of an actual order of the code enforcement officer, nor have they filed a subdivision or site plan application with the planning board such that this has been slid over from the planning board. They filed an area variance application with no preliminary basis to do so, and that was just discovered. And so because we've had public hearings and we want to preserve those public comments that everybody took the time to make, the board is agreeing to an extension of the time that they would normally have to decide this, to afford them the time to make the subdivision application with the planning board so that the planning board can properly slide it over. So this board then has proper jurisdiction to make a ruling on the area variance. So
The procedural snafu.
it's a procedural snafu in layman's terms.
And do we have a chance to be part of the discussion again or not really?
So yes,
Okay.
twofold. The planning board will be required to have a public hearing on the subdivision application. And it was included in the resolution that this board will have another public hearing so that the public has an opportunity to comment once more. Now, it may be all the same thing and you may feel you've had your say, but it was written in to give the public one more opportunity here, and then also the opportunity at the subdivision.
Strong recommend going to the planning board. Your views to that, because that would be fresh to them.
Okay.
When is the planning board meetings? Is that on your website as well?
It should be, yes.
You'll get a legal notice for that also.
Okay.
It's the first and third Wednesday of every month.
Thank you.
But it depends on when they actually file.
Yeah,
When they bring it up
Yep.
for discussion.
Right.
Yeah, because if they miss it, if it's supposed to be in by Thursday and they file on Friday, well, now they've missed a meeting and they're delayed a month or whatever.
Oh, can I ask you one question? We've had, I think, 4 variations of layout for this proposed subdivision. I hear you talking about the long driveway option again. Are we back to that? I'm just trying to figure out which version we're.
The application was submitted requesting a variance to a 30-foot
Yeah,
front width.
right.
That's what this resolution is saying that he needs to submit the subdivision application as, so that the planning board and the zoning board are looking at the exact same
Initial.
map dimensions, and that way everything is the same.
Okay.
Now he's free to change it, but then he'd have to start new here and submit whatever he wants at the planning board. But to preserve what's been done here, it needs to be the 30-foot because that's what
Was originally.
what was originally submitted.
Okay.
Yeah, because the last meeting, they said, oh, we can change it and go to 3 lots and not with.
And that's,
The one in the
if they
back.
choose to go that way, that's the owner's prerogative, sure.
Okay.
That's the chair's.
Yes. it's-
We did submit those plans.
Sorry, what's
We
that?
did submit those maps for the 3 equal lots.
Oh, this is fine. I mean, it was the planning board for that.
No, that submittal was after the close of the public hearing, so the only application in front of this board is your 30-foot,
The original one.
correct?
That's the way I understood it. Okay. Thank you very much.
You can work with the town on something else if you want.
No, we're also.
Any more public comments?
Playing catch up. Thank you.
Any public comments? Hearing none. Seeing none. Director of Development update.
Yeah, since we last met, we did have a public information meeting, both live and on YouTube for the sidewalk project that's moving along. There was virtually no opposition voiced to the design. The next phase is to put all of the details in for the preliminary design and get it approved by the state DOT, and then we can come back and prepare final documents and bids and hopefully go out to bid this fall to allow us to start construction of those sidewalks, the pedestrian bridge across Beaver Creek and the trail connection to begin early, about a year from now, will be underway. We continue to work with the various boards on their duties and responsibilities. They add to chapter 9 of the town code. And we will be having a reapplication of the power incentive rezoning project. They've changed the density, they've lowered the density by 30 lots, is it, Dan?
Yeah, 3 lots.
And widened the widths of the lots and also provided for larger side setbacks than what they originally had come in with. The only other thing that I can just say is that we have been informed that someone has purchased the former water park site on 332, which is about 85 acres north of the state police barracks, between the state police and 41. And we anticipate a rezoning application being submitted later this year for that large project. So that's it from now. Everything else seems to be wrapping up pretty well with other projects, so I'll turn it over to Dan.
Zoning board or zoning and code enforcement update?
Open clerk of the board position. And if you guys want something to do on 4th Monday of every month.
Or the third and with the.
Yeah, 3rd in this case. Your next meeting is tentatively scheduled for June 26th. As of now, we have no applications, but because this meeting got moved up, there is still another week until the deadline. So we'll let you know if we're gonna have a meeting or not.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple comments to add to his. First off, I want to inform the board that this will be John's last meeting with you guys. And I want to thank him for his commitment over the last few years to the zoning board and all the zoning issues, but he is moving on from us. So I do appreciate his time and effort he put into this board to help you guys. So
Same, definitely same. Thank you for doing this.
So we're not quite sure how the structuring is going to go moving forward. So you might be seeing me a little bit more until we figure that out. So just want to inform you guys of that situation.
Next meeting has been saved, so we're on a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I.
Meeting adjourned.